start a talk, we will be talking about horseshoe attractor. Now, what do we mean by an attractor? So, we know that we can have a dynamics, right, f acting from x to x, and then what happens is usually there will be some orbits of x which converge to some particular set. I am not talking of points, but they will be converging to some particular set, and there will be some orbits which will sort of disappear. So, attractor is basically an invariant set for a dynamical system. So, basically if you have D subset of x, right, such that f of D is D, then we say that D is an attractor. Now, if you recall last time previously we have seen what is a horseshoe map. So, we have seen a horseshoe map and we had noticed that the horseshoe map is something, maybe I can say that it is of this form, right. You have a unit interval, and in the unit interval you take the transformation, right, you elongate the interval, right, expanding x direction, contracting y direction, expanding y direction, contracting x direction, putting it back onto itself, and what you get is something of this form. And what happens in this phase is that you have horizontal rectangles h naught, which is mapped by the function f to v naught, and you have horizontal rectangle h1 which is mapped to vertical rectangle v naught. So, this is our v naught, this is our v1, and similarly you can have the inverse transformation also, where you can see that v naught is mapped onto h naught and h naught is mapped onto v naught. So, basically this is our h naught and this is our v naught h1. So, v1 is mapped to h1 and v naught is mapped to h naught under f inverse. So, we have seen that we have both these transformations, and another property of the transformation that we had seen is that if I have any vertical rectangle, so any kind of vertical rectangle, of course, it need not be subset of v naught, any vertical rectangle, then under f it is basically mapped to some, it is basically mapped, any vertical rectangle is mapped under f to some vertical rectangle. So, what happens is you get the image of a vertical rectangle is two vertical rectangles in the plane D. This is what our call our D. So, in D we find that a vertical rectangle is mapped to two distinct vertical rectangles, and similarly if you take a horizontal rectangle, then the horizontal rectangle under f inverse is mapped to two horizontal rectangles. So, we would say then this in the previous section that this is what is basically the dynamics of the horseshoe map, where we, as we had seen last time also, that we are interested in looking into what exactly is the dynamics of the horseshoe. So, basically we have this horseshoe attractor. So, we are looking into all those points which remain inside D for all possible iteration under all possible iterations of f. So, we are looking into the invariant set of f, and for this invariant set we are interested in looking into what is the dynamics there. So, we are essentially interested in looking into this invariant set lambda, which we call as a horseshoe attractor. We again define our lambda. So, let me define this lambda. So, this lambda I can say that this is say f minus n d, right, intersection f inverse d intersection d intersection f of d intersection f and d intersection so on, right. So, you will find that we are looking into this particular intersection. Now, this is our invariant set. So, what happens over here is we can try to think about this, we can try to see visualize this lambda by looking into two things separately. So, on one hand we have this negative iterates, right, we can try to see this negative iterates, and on the other hand we have this positive iterates, right. So, we have this particular positive iterates over here and we try to see, consider lambda, right, consider these negative iterates and positive iterates separately and then intersect them to find out the lambda. So, for us we will be looking into two sets. So, we are looking into this kind of lambda plus, which I can say is nothing but d intersection f d, right, intersection f square d and so on, right. So, looking into the positive iterates, we again have lambda minus, which is d intersection f inverse d, right, intersection f minus 2d and so on. And then we know that what is our lambda is nothing but lambda plus intersect with lambda minus, right. So, we can try to think in this particular aspect and it will be easier for us to construct, to make this kind of geometrical construction. Now, as again I said that our geometrical construction just depends on how we had taken up our horseshoe map and how we had geometrically seen how we could construct this attractor and the concept that vertical rectangles are mapped to vertical rectangles and horizontal rectangles are mapped to horizontal rectangles. We will be looking into this concept. So, we first start with our lambda plus. So, we start with lambda plus. What happens in the case of lambda plus? Now, we are interested in constructing lambda plus. So, for lambda plus, we try to what scheme we are going to follow is, we are going to look into this set, say d intersection f of d, right. And then after looking into d intersection f of d, we again take d intersection. So, again what we do is we take d intersection f of d intersection f of d. Now, we know that this is going to be nothing but this is d intersection f of d intersection f square d, right. So, our next in the next step we will be only looking into what is d intersection f of, then again I have this concept d intersection f of d, this set f square d, and this is going to be our set d intersection f of d intersection f square d, right, intersection f cube d. And then after having looked into say n times, right, what we can do is we can see that our lambda plus is nothing but, say supposing I have this d intersection, I already have found out what is d intersection f d, right, intersection f k d. If I have this set with me, then we know that what we can do here is we can take this set, we can take this limit as k tends to infinity, right, and this is what is going to be our lambda plus. So, we are going to try to visualize d intersection f d, d intersection f d intersection f square d and so on, and once we have constructed k steps, it will be easy for us to visualize what happens when we take the limit as k tends to infinity. So, let us try to visualize what is d intersection f of d. So, now we take what is d intersection f of d. Now, we already know what is d intersection f of d, right. So, we have seen that this is nothing but my V0 union V1, right. If you can recall from what was done last time, this is just V0 union V1, and when I take this V0 union V1, I can start with an indexing set. So, I am starting with this indexing set S to be equal to 0 1, and starting with this indexing set S equal to 0 1, I can say that this is nothing but this is my union of, now I am indexing it in a very special manner. I am saying that S minus 1 belongs to S V S minus 1. So, this is my D intersection f of d. Now, we can look into what is D intersection f of d intersection f square d. So, if we try looking into this aspect, this is nothing but now I am looking into D intersection f of this part, right. So, I can index it, I can simply say that this is nothing but this is union of S minus I belonging to S, right, where I am taking my I to be equal to 1 and 2, and I have f of V S minus 2 intersection V S minus 1, which I am writing now as, so I am indexing them as S minus I belonging to S, where I is 1 and 2, and I can write this as V S minus 1 S minus 2. What is this set? So, if we try to look into this set, I am essentially looking into all the points P in D, right, such that P belongs to the vertical triangle V S minus 1, and then we know that the image of vertical triangle is a vertical triangle. So, basically I am looking into F inverse P belonging to V S minus 2, and again here my S I belongs to S, I should say S minus I belongs to S, right, and I am taking my I to be equal to 1 2. So, I am looking into essentially these points. So, this makes it easier for me to guess what is D intersection f of d intersection f square d intersection f cube d. So, again I know that it will be D intersection f of this part, right. So, I can say that this is union of S minus I belonging to S, right. I goes from 1 2 3. I now have f of V S minus 2 S minus 3, right, intersection V S minus 1, which I can write it down as union of S minus I belonging to S, right, I going from 1 to 3, right, which is V of S minus 1 S minus 2 S minus 3. And if you try to look into what are these points, so these are exactly those points P in D such that P belongs to V S minus 1, right, F inverse P belongs to V S minus 2, and F minus 2, that is of P, belongs to V S minus 3, where again my S minus I belongs to S and my I happens to be 1 2 3. So, I know that this set happens to be of this particular form. Now, if you recall that we had seen this figure, in terms of figure we had seen it last time. So, I am just trying to recall this once again. So, let us now look into what is our action of f. So, we had seen that our D intersection f of d, right, happens to be this V naught and V 1, right. So, you have this V naught, right. So, this is basically your V naught and V 1, this is D intersection f of d, and here we know that D intersection f of d is the set of all P in D such that P belongs to V S minus 1, right. And we can again denote our D intersection f d intersection f square d, which is basically nothing but it is a union of 4 vertical rectangles. So, if I look into what are these vertical rectangles, right, I can see that this is basically the set of all P in D such that P belongs to V S minus 1 and F inverse P belongs to Vs minus 2 for S minus 1, S minus 2 belonging to S. And again if I look into D intersection F of D intersection F square D intersection F cube D, right, what I get here is I get this kind of, I get these 8 vertical rectangles These are 8 vertical rectangles that we get, and these 8 vertical rectangles are basically the set of all P in D such that P belongs to Vs minus 1, F inverse P belongs to Vs minus 2, F minus 2 belongs to Vs minus 3, right, for S minus 1, S minus 2, S minus 3 belongs to S. So, we had seen this last time, and this is what is our description. So, in general what can we say about any K? So, if we start with that part, right, we can say that in general we have D intersection F of D intersection Fk minus 1 D, or I can say Fkd maybe. What is that equal to? So, that happens to be the set of all P in D, right, such that P belongs to Vs minus 1, right, F inverse P belongs to Vs minus 2, and I can start this by saying that F minus Kp belongs to Vs minus K plus 1 here, and such that Si S minus I belongs to S, and my I varies from 1 to K plus 1. Right. So, this is what happens at the general instant when we are taking K iterations. And now what can we say about D intersection Fd intersection F minus Kd? Now let us get back to our figure again. Now what had happened was here, right, that our width here, if you recall this part, our width had, the width of the rectangle V naught was lambda, right. Now here the width would have gone down to lambda square, right. The width, again you are contracting the width, right. So, the width here was lambda, the width here goes down to lambda square, the width here goes down to lambda cube. So, what can we say in terms when we are looking into the kth part, right. So, this set consists of, so we can say that this is a set and this set consists of how many rectangles do we have here? 2 to the power k, right. So, we have 2 to the power k rectangles, vertical rectangles, of width lambda to the power k. So, we now at the kth stage we have this construction. Now, we basically want to see what happens when k tends to infinity. So, we recall here that our lambda was a quantity which was between 0 and half, lambda was something which was less than half. So, with this quantity, right, we know that as k tends to infinity, lambda to the power k tends to 0, right. So, or basically this is limit, so this is equal to 0, right. So, limit of lambda to the power k is 0. So, that means now as we go on applying f again and again, right, these rectangles are slowly gradually going to lose their width, and 0 width means they become a straight line. So, what happens at the infinite stage here? So, at the infinite stage here we find that lambda plus, right, which is basically my intersection n goes from 0 to infinity, Fn of D is nothing but this is union of, right. I am now looking into this part, this is limit, or I should say that this is union of say S minus I belong to S, I goes from 1 to k plus 1, right. I have V S minus 1, S minus 2, right, S minus k plus 1. I have this fact here, right. I am looking into this particular union and I am taking this limit as k tends to infinity. And if I look into this limit, if I just see this part, what we have actually, what we obtained is, we obtained vertical lines now, because the rectangles no longer exist because the width tends to 0. So, we get vertical lines here, and I can say that this would be union of all S minus I belong to S, where I varies from 1 to infinity, right. And what I get is here V minus 1, V S minus 1, S minus 2, right, S minus k and so on. So, what happens here is, for each sequence that you can get from S, now our S is the set 0 1. So, from each sequence that you can get in S, you get a vertical line which is labeled by that particular sequence, right, and the union of all these vertical lines happens to be your lambda plus. So, lambda plus is now the union of vertical lines, right, and this vertical lines are labeled by a sequence of zeros and ones. So, now what is this? This is a sequence of infinite number of, so this is basically, this lambda plus consists of infinite vertical lines, and each of this vertical line is labeled by a sequence of zeros and 1. So, let us now look into how do we construct our lambda minus. So, what happens for lambda minus? Now, if we try to see what happens for lambda minus, again we have a same factor here. So, we know that what F minus F inverse does, F inverse maps horizontal rectangles to horizontal rectangles, and we know that what is F inverse, it maps V naught to H naught, right, and it maps V1 to H1, and in general it is mapping horizontal rectangles to horizontal rectangles. So, we know that F inverse of V naught is H naught and F inverse of V1 is H1. And what is our D intersection FD, F inverse D? Again, it is just H naught union H1. D intersection F inverse D is just H naught union H1. And so, we can say that this is union of all. Now, I am saying that this is S naught belonging to S, I have H of S naught, right. And this I can say is this the set of all P in D such that P belongs to H of S naught, right, for S naught belonging to S. Now, again the factors, similarly the kind of construction that we have seen earlier. What is my D intersection F inverse D intersection F minus 2D? What is this part? So, if we try to look into this part, this is nothing but, I can say that this is D intersection F inverse of D intersection F inverse D, and so I can say that this is nothing but this is my union of S I belong to S, where my I varies from just 0 and 1, and I can say that this is F inverse of H S1 intersection H S0, which I can write it as union of S I belonging to S, I is 0 1, right. I can say that this is my H S0 S1. So, I have sort of horizontal rectangles here which are labeled as S naught S1, where S naught again is from S and S1 is also from S. And I can write it in terms of P as this is the set of all P in D such that P belongs to H of S naught and f of P belongs to H of S1, where again my Si belongs to S and I is 0 1. So, this is my D intersection F inverse D intersection F minus 2 D, and I could similarly take D intersection F inverse D intersection F minus 2 D, right. What we are interested in, what happens at the kth stage. So, what happens at the kth stage? So, our D intersection F inverse D intersection F minus K D, what happens at this kth stage? What I get here is, I get this to be union of S I belong to S, right. I have H of S naught up to S K minus 1, right, and I have this I varying from 0 to K minus 1. And if we try to look into this factor, this is nothing but this is the set of all P belonging to D such that Fi of P belongs to H of Si, right. That is what we get here, right. You try to think of that part. D intersection F inverse D intersection F minus 2 D happen to be the set of all P in D such that P belongs to H of S naught, if P belongs to H of S1. So, the next stage I will get H of S naught S1 S2, right, such that P belongs to H of S naught, if P belongs to H of S1 and F square P belongs to H of S2. And similarly, what happens at the kth stage here is, we get H naught S1 S naught S1 S minus K such that P belongs to H of S naught, F P belongs to H of S1, right, and F I P belongs to H of S I, right, for all S I belonging to S and my I varies from 0 1 up to K minus 1. So, this is what happens at the kth stage, and again we have seen that horizontal rectangles are mapped to horizontal rectangles, and so what happens over here is that we get 2 to the power k. So, this consists of, so this set consists of 2 to the power k horizontal rectangles of width. Yes, can somebody tell me what will be the width here? Now, we know how F inverse maps, right, it goes to 1 by mu, is not it, and we have already started with mu greater than 2, right. So, at the kth stage my width happens to be 1 upon mu to the power k, right, and how is it labeled? So, this we have 2 to the power k horizontal rectangles of width 1 upon 2 to the power k, right, labeled by a sequence of zeros and ones of length k. So, I am taking a sequence of length k of zeros and ones, and I find how many, because I am taking 0 1 again. So, how many sequence of length k do I get? I get again 2 to the power k sequences, right, and if we look into what happens over here is that we get 2 to the power k horizontal rectangles. So, we have sort of a unique association of a sequence of length k with each of the horizontal rectangles. And now, it is just as before, it is easy to say what will be your f lambda minus. So, what is my lambda minus? I can say that this happens to be my intersection n going from minus infinity to 0, right, f and d, and I can take this limit as n tends to infinity in the kth stage. So, what I get here is this happens to be the union of all Si belongs to S, where my I varies from 0, 1 onwards, right, and I get here sequences H, S0, S1, S2 and so on. Now, at the kth stage when we are taking the limit, we know that mu is greater than 2. So, 1 upon mu to the power k is again going to tend to 0. So, at the infinite stage, what will we get is an infinite or basically an infinite horizontal lines. Right. So, what we get is infinite horizontal lines. Now, each of this line is measured by each of this line has a unique association with a sequence of zeros and ones, and there are infinitely such horizontal lines. Also, we can say that this would be basically the set of all p in D, right, such that Fi of p belongs to H of Si, where my Si belongs to S and my I varies from 0, 1 onwards. So, now we are having this particular picture for the forward and the backward. How exactly can we see that? Maybe let us try to see this figure. So, let us try to see this particular figure. Now, if we try to look into the forward iterates, right. So, the forward iterates basically comprise what is the red region here. So, you have this kind of vertical rectangles, right. Each vertical rectangle is associated with a sequence of zeros and ones, and now you can imagine what happens at n tends to infinity. You will get infinitely many vertical lines, and each of these vertical lines is uniquely associated with one infinite sequence of zeros and ones. So, you have vertical lines here, and if you try to look into what happens to the negative side, right, the backward iterates, then you find these. So, basically this picture gives you the horizontal rectangles. Now, the horizontal rectangles are also uniquely associated with a sequence of zeros and ones. So, what you get here is you get that you have at the infinite stage you get infinitely number of horizontal lines, right, and each horizontal line is uniquely associated with a sequence of zeros and ones. So, now what happens to our lambda here? If one asks for, our lambda is nothing but it is lambda minus intersection with lambda plus. So, what is that aspect? Now, if we can see what is our lambda minus, right. So, if you see what is our point P here, so I can say that what is my point P here? So, this is a sequence of all zeros and this is a sequence, basically this is a set of all horizontal lines, this is a set of all vertical lines, right. So, you have horizontal lines and vertical lines. So, if I take any point P belonging to lambda, it is basically in the intersection of a horizontal line with a vertical line, right. So, P is a unique intersection of a horizontal line and a vertical line. So, you take any point P here. So, supposing I want to say that this particular point P is in lambda, then this particular point P has to be a unique intersection, because we know that anyway two lines will intersect only at one point, right. So, we find that this is a unique intersection of a horizontal line and a vertical line. Now, the more interesting aspect comes up over here. What is the horizontal line that P that we are considering? So, supposing the horizontal line that we were considering, right, turns out to the form of H, S0, S1, right, Sk and so on, right. This is the horizontal line, the unique horizontal line. So, that means that there is a sequence S0, S1, Sk, a sequence of zeros and 1 which labels this particular line. So, this is our unique horizontal line, and my P happens to be the intersection of this horizontal line with a unique vertical line. So, my vertical line I am labeling again by a sequence of zeros and ones. So, for a unique sequence of zeros and ones you have a unique line. So, supposing this was V s minus 1, s minus 2, s minus k and onwards. So, this was a unique sequence over here. So, what we get here is that associated to P we get a unique bi-infinite sequence of zeros and ones. So, I can say that my P here can be uniquely associated, right, uniquely corresponds to this bi-infinite sequence. I can write it in this form s minus k, s minus 1, s 0, s 1, right, s k and so on. So, this any point of my horseshoe attractor, right, is can be basically can be associated to a unique bi-infinite sequence of zeros and ones. Now, this is giving us some kind of an interesting picture here. So, let us try to analyze this once again. So, now we look into what is our vertical rectangle. So, a vertical line. So, my vertical line is f v s minus 1, s minus 2, s minus k and so on, which essentially is the set of all p in D, right, such that f minus I plus 1 of p, right, belongs to v s minus I, right, for I going to 1, 2 and on, and my s minus I belongs to s, right. So, this was basically my vertical line, and if I try to look into this vertical line, we recall here that f of h I, right, whatever be, or maybe I can take s minus I, right, will be nothing but it will be v s minus I. So, I am trying to take this association. We know that v maps, h maps to the horizontal rectangle, maps to the vertical rectangle in this manner, because again our indexing is just 0 and 1, and we know that h naught is mapped to v naught and h 1 is mapped to v 1. So, if I try to put this equation inside, what we get here is this is the set of all p in D such that if minus I of p belongs to h s minus I, right, where again my s minus I belongs to s and my I varies from 1 to so on. Now, I can easily say what is my point P, and we already know that what is our h, s naught, s 1, right, s k, what is this line equal to. So, this is my vertical line which I can now have has this representation, and this is my horizontal line. We already know what representation it has. It is the set of all p in D such that if I of p belongs to h s I, again my s I belongs to s, where I varies from 0, 1, 2 and so on. So, I can say my p, the point p that we have, which is the unique point of intersection of this horizontal line with this vertical line, right, it can be written in the form of, which basically let me write it in this form. This is the unique intersection s minus 1, s minus 2, s minus k and so on intersect with h, s naught, s 1, s k and so on. So, this is basically a singleton element, and this singleton element is basically the set p in D such that if I of p belongs to h of s I, where my s I belongs to s, right, and now where is my I varying from. So, I is 0 plus or minus 1 plus or minus 2 and so on. If we try to analyze this part, right, what happens here is what is the dynamics of p. So, that means we are interested in looking into what happens to the iterate of p, what happens to the orbit of p. So, to understand the orbit of p, it is very interesting that we all have to look into what is this horizontal rectangle. So, at the ith stage, whether we go into the negative or the positive, it is going to stay in this rectangle HSI. And here what we have here is we have p in that case, because this set is a singleton, right. This p is associated, let me call phi to be that association. This P is uniquely associated to this bi-infinite sequence S minus k, S minus 1, S0, S1, Sk and so on. Now, I have this bi-infinite sequence, so I will always try to look into what happens to the negative iterate, what happens to the positive iterate. So, we always write a bi-infinite sequence with a decimal point to separate out the negative iterates and the positive iterates, right. So, we have P under phi being associated to this bi-infinite sequence of zeros and ones. So, now let us try to understand the dynamics on the horseshoe attractor. What happens on the horseshoe attractor? So, on the horseshoe attractor, let me again come back to this part figure. On the horseshoe attractor, now I am looking into this, picture again, and I am trying to, we just imagine what happens at infinity. So, at infinity, we have this vertical lines, infinitely many vertical lines and infinitely many horizontal lines, and we find that each point of intersection is associated with a sequence. Now, one thing is clear to us, that this association is in such a manner that whenever I am saying that P is associated with this particular sequence, right, I have this in mind, that if I of P always belongs to H of Si, whatever be my I, right, my I could be negative or positive, this belongs to H of Si. So, what our conclusion here is that in order to understand the dynamics of P, it is enough to understand what is the dynamics of the bi-infinite sequence, or in other words, let us say that what is, now we already know what is P attached to, right. So, P is associated with this particular sequence. So, we would be interested in what is the sequence, what is the unique sequence associated with, say, F and P. So, at the nth stage, what happens here? What is the sequence which is associated with F and P, because we are looking at, ultimately we are trying to analyze the orbit of P, right. So, what happens at F and P? Now, if I try to look into what happens at F and P, and if I go in back into this construction here, right. So, what would happen to F and P here, right. So, I know that my F and P belongs to H of S n. My F and P here, right, from this factor it is very clear that my F and P belongs to H of S n, that is if my n happens to be positive, right. What happens if my n tends to be negative? Again I can say that it belongs to H of S minus n in that sense, right, if n is negative, right. So, in all cases I have that my association is given in this particular manner, and so when I am looking into this particular sequence, so I am again looking into this particular sequence. So, let me write this sequence S minus n, right, S minus k, S minus 1, S0, S1, right, Sk, Sn and so on. So, what happens to F and P? If I want to note what happens to my F and P, right, since my F and P will be like at the zeroth part, it should belong to H of Sn, right. So, we can say that this association can be given in terms of, now when we look into the bi-infinite sequence, right, if we look into this particular bi-infinite sequence where it was mapped to, right, we know that if NP belongs to H of Si, right, my decimal point was here. So, when I am looking into what happens to Fn of P, what is the association, then it is going to be, it is going to remain in the same sequence. The sequence of zeros and ones is going to remain the same, excepting what happens is if n is positive, my decimal point moves n steps to the right. If my n is negative, right, my decimal point moves n step to the negative side, to the left hand side, right, till the point which is adjacent to the decimal becomes Sn, right. So, it keeps on moving. So, what happens here is that if we try to look into the orbit of P, the orbit of P nothing but involves in moving this decimal points to the left or to the right. So, we see that what is my f and p, right. Basically, let me assume, so assuming my n to be positive, right, my decimal point puts up here. So, I have an Sn minus 1 here and my decimal point is here. So, this is again a unique sequence of zeros and ones. So, my orbit of p can be easily seen to be concurrent with the orbit of zeros and ones, right. And then this is just where my map is just moving a decimal point to the left or the right. So, this moving of decimal point to the left and right is basically called a shift map. So, what we find out is that the orbit of p in this horseshoe attractor, right, it defines a map on the sequence of zeros and on the bi-infinite sequence which is called the shift map, where I define the shift map, right. Now, what I have is I have basically my sequence of zeros and ones, right. These are bi-infinite sequence, means they move on both the sides. So, I can say that 0 1 to the power z, right, to 0 1 to the power z, and I am defining this as sigma of s minus k, s minus 1, my point lies here, s naught, s1, sk. If I am looking into this part, my shift is only taking the decimal point 1 point to the right, right. So, this is nothing but my s minus k, right, s minus 1, s naught. I have a point here, I have S1 and then Sk. Now, this sigma is an invertible map, one can see, look into the part, this is an invertible map, and so my sigma inverse would take the decimal point 1 point to the left, right. So, this is a unique kind of association of the dynamics of f on the horseshoe attractor with the dynamics of the shift on the set of all bi-infinite sequences, and we find that any p for any p in the horseshoe attractor, I have phi p, right, a bi-infinite sequence, and then what is my fk of p, what is this association fk of p, then this fk of p is nothing but it is sigma to the power k, right, I am applying shift k times to phi p. So, we have a direct relation between the dynamics. So, if I am looking into the dynamical system sigma lambda and f, which is my horseshoe attractor, the dynamics on the horseshoe, then there is a direct association of this with, I have this sequence of zeros and ones as a set, right, and sigma. So, we see that there is a direct association over here. Can we come back from here to here? Maybe first of all we will have to analyze this part. So, the analysis of this part is what turns out to be again a very important branch of dynamics, which we call symbolic dynamics, and this is something which we will be taking up next. Okay. So, today we end up over here.